Aloha, I'm Gordon Ito, the Insurance Commissioner at the State Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs. The Insurance Division is responsible for overseeing the insurance industry in the state. This includes insurance companies and agents. We license and regulate all insurance transactions in the state. We're here to ensure that Hawaii's consumers are provided with insurance services meeting acceptable standards, that rates are fair, and insurers are financially viable to pay claims. Today in our first segment, Understanding Insurance Can Keep You Healthy, you will learn about health insurance and why it's important to have insurance and the types of coverages available. You'll learn how the healthcare industry is evolving and why healthcare costs are rising.
Well, most of our complaints revolve around three areas. And if you learn and remember these three things, you should have no problems. The first issue is to choose the correct plan. So in Hawaii, there's generally two types of plan. There's an HMO and then there's the PPO. The HMO is a plan like Kaiser, which is a closed panel plan. You can only go see the doctors within their plan. The pros of that is that everything's under one roof. So it's much more convenient. They direct your health care. Everything is in one place. You don't have to think. This is the good type of plan to choose if you are the type of person who doesn't want to deal with your health care. You want your doctors to make your decisions, and you're not actively involved in your treatment. The other type of plan is a PPO, which is a preferred provider organization. That's like HMSA, where you get to go choose your doctors. You can see anybody anybody you want. People that are participating, you'll get a higher benefit out of, though. This is a good plan for people who want to be actively involved in their healthcare choices. They want to go to the best doctors in the country. You can do that with this type of plan. The downside is you have to be actively involved. You have to find your own doctors. So there's a lot of legwork involved, but some people prefer to be actively involved. So the first thing to remember, choose the plan that's right for you. Second thing to remember is once you have your plan, to learn your plan, know your benefits. Nobody wants to sit there and read their insurance policy, and they're very cumbersome. But with the healthcare reform, President Obama has required insurers now to distribute something called a summary of benefits and coverage, which is a wonderful summary that tells people in common terms how to use their plan, the benefits, what the co-payments are. It gives examples of certain type of treatments, of how much it will cost, how much you will have to pay. So it's a really good summary in easy, simple terms. Ask your plan for a copy of it. Get to know what is covered. A lot of people think, I have insurance, everything is covered. It is not. There are a lot of exclusions. There are a lot of little rules you have to learn. So first of all, get that and learn your plan. The second thing is you also need to, a lot of treatments need pre-authorization. So it's a good thing if you have a major treatment scheduled to call your health plan just to verify your benefits. Make sure that the provider you've chosen is in your network. Make sure that you've got pre-authorizations. Make sure that this treatment is even a covered benefit. And the difference between a preferred provider and a non-preferred provider is you'll find a listing with your health plan to know who's within the plan. It will save you thousands of dollars by using a preferred provider, because the preferred providers have a contract with the insurers to accept a contracted amount for the service, whereas a non-preferred provider can charge any amount they want. And the plan member will be responsible for the difference between the contracted amount that the insurance company has contracted and whatever this doctor chooses. It can be tens of thousands of dollars. People think, well, let's see, my preferred provider, it's covered at 80%, and a non-preferred provider is covered at 70%. They think, well, that's not a big difference. But that's 70% of the contracted rate, not the billed rate. So that's a huge mistake people make and find a very expensive lesson. And then the final point you need to remember is if you get an adverse decision from an insurer, file an appeal. 50% of appeals are overturned and will be paid. The computers sometimes will automatically deny a claim. Red flags will go up. Certain issues, certain types of treatments. Sometimes it'll be coded wrong by the doctor. It's just a simple mistake, but the computer will automatically deny it. If you do not file an appeal, you are going to be billed. So always appeal. Half the time it will be overturned, the decision. If it's not, you can file for an external review with the insurance division, and your insurance company will tell you how to do that. You file a request with the insurance division, and we will send the case to an independent review organization, and doctors will review it and decide whether the insurance company properly denied it the treatment or not. And finally, if that fails or you have any questions, you can call the insurance division, 586-2804. We can answer any questions about your health plan, or you can file a complaint with us and you can get a complaint form online. So if you remember these 3 points, you should be able to maximize your health insurance benefits.
Hello there. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some health insurance basics. I wanted to start off with this idea of the young invincibles. These are young people who think that they don't really need health insurance. So I have a little story to tell about that. We had a gentleman come into our office who had a dispute with his health insurance company. They claimed that he didn't tell them up front about a small bump that he had on his neck. Well, by the time he came into our office, that bump on his neck was the size of a softball, and he had a pretty serious problem. Now, this was a young man. He was 28 years old, athletic, healthy. He never thought this was going to happen to him. And the chances that something like that's going to happen to you is actually quite small. But the point is, you never really know what is going to happen to you when it comes to your health, and that's one of the reasons why it's a good idea to buy health insurance. We've talked to many people who buy health insurance, and they often complain. They say, well, you know, I'm healthy and I don't use the health insurance, but I'm paying all this money. Well, actually, that's a good thing, because if you're not using health insurance, it's because you're healthy, and that's a positive thing. But more importantly, people don't really understand the nature of insurance, that what happens is that healthy people subsidize the sick people. 80% of the costs in health insurance are due to about 20% of the people, and about 50% of the costs are due to 5% of the people. So really, without healthy people being part of the system and paying into it, we really can't have health insurance. I want to talk a minute about access to health insurance. We have a law in Hawaii called the Prepaid Health Care Act, which is the only state employer mandate in the country. And under this law, employees who work more than 20 hours a week get health insurance from their employers. So this is a good benefit we have in Hawaii. I want to talk a little bit about the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare. One of the things about Obamacare is that people can get individual non-group insurance even if they have pre-existing health conditions. This used to be not the case. People used to be denied for their pre-existing conditions, but now they can get that written on what we call a guaranteed issuance basis, which means that even if you are sick in some way and you have a health history, the insurance company must write you health insurance. So there is broader access to health insurance now than ever before. I want to talk a minute about the coverage benefits that are available under health insurance. Under the Prepaid Health Care Act, our employer mandate, and the Affordable Care Act, people do have very rich medical benefits. Of course, the richer the benefits are, the higher the cost of the premiums that you pay for that insurance. And what is important to remember is that not everything is covered by your insurance. There are what we call exclusions from that insurance. For example, one of the main exclusions is an exclusion for experimental treatments. So that if a treatment is something that's rather new and hasn't been fully tested and we don't know what the outcomes are, sometimes the insurance company won't cover you for that treatment. I want to cover a little bit about cost sharing. Insurance will pay most of your medical bill, but inevitably you yourself will pay some of the costs of the medical bill. And there are things which we call, for example, deductibles, co-payments, and co-insurance. And I'll just talk a little bit about each of those. A deductible is money that you pay up front. It's the first dollar of loss. So let's say that you have a $1,000 medical bill. You might pay $100 of that as a deductible, and that's part of your cost sharing. There are things called co-payments. For example, if you visit your doctor, there might be a $20 fee for visiting your doctor, which we call a co-payment. And then there's something called co-insurance, which if you have a certain kind of plan, you might have to pay a percentage of your medical bill. For example, you might have to pay 10% of your medical bill or 20% of your medical bill. But the point is that you will have to pay something out of pocket, generally speaking, even when you use health insurance. Under the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, they have something called metal levels, platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. And what these are designed to do is to provide different levels of cost sharing. So when you buy insurance under the new system, you want to take a look at how much costs are being shifted to you. The good thing to remember about it, however, is there's always something called a maximum out-of-pocket, or we call it a MOOP, or M-O-O-P. And that means that even if you have cost sharing, there is an annual maximum limit that you will have to pay out of pocket. So there is a limit to the cost sharing that you'll have to endure. But whenever you buy health insurance, you have to give some thought to your ability to pay the cost sharing. I want to talk a little bit about exchanges under the Affordable Care Act. It's a website where you can shop and compare health plans. This exchange exists in many states and also at the federal level for some states. And you can get subsidies from the federal government, tax subsidies if you are a small business, and also if you are an individual between 138 and 400% of the federal poverty level. And I want to talk about some big picture items about how an insurance company works. An insurance company is what we call a pass-through, which means that premiums, or the fee that you pay for that insurance, is collected annually by the insurance company and pooled together. And then that money is used to pay claims or losses under that insurance. So every year, money is coming in the front door of the insurance company and going out the back door. It's not actually being accumulated. Some people think that insurance is like a bank account where you put money in year 1 and year 2 and every year, and then maybe down the road, 10 or 15 years, you withdraw that money. But that's not actually how it works. How it works is that every year there's a new pooling of premiums to pay the losses for that year. So that's why we call an insurance company a pass-through. We also have to remember that healthcare costs are rising faster than general inflation, and that this phenomenon of rising costs could impact healthcare access and healthcare quality in the future.
Thank you for joining us in this segment. We've covered why it's important to have health insurance and the types of coverages available. For more information, visit our website, cca.hawaii.gov/ins, or call the Insurance Division.